Well, viewers, we're tracking all that's happening with respect to the Ukrainian crisis, and for the first time we are seeing that Ukraine also attacked and carried out several airstrikes in the Russian territory. Now, the Kremlin has said that a reported Ukrainian airstrike on a fuel depot in the western Russia will hinder the future peace talks. Now, of course, Moscow sending out that statement and a strong message to Ukraine as well. After the first time since 37 days of the escalation on the ground that we have been tracking in Ukraine, we have seen for the first time that Ukrainian troops have carried out an attack, a counter-attack rather, in the Russian territory as well. And we have seen that the oil depot that had been attacked and targeted 40 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border in the western parts of Russia as well. And we are seeing now the escalation even continuing, and that Moscow is sending out a statement that it will hinder the peace talks as well. Let me go across to my colleague Crispino, who's joining us from the Mumbai newsroom. Crispino, it is getting more heated up now that Ukraine, for the first time that we're getting to know, has also carried out several attacks in the Russian territory. Moscow hitting back and saying that this will hinder the peace talks.
Absolutely, this on our screens is the second attack by the Ukrainian forces in Belgorod. Earlier they had hit a massive oil depot, causing ripples in Russia of a counter-attack by the Ukrainian forces. You can see the visuals and the impact of the shelling of the rocket in Belgorod. Now remember, Belgorod is just situated towards the north of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. Belgorod is situated in the southern part of Russia, and it's a key strategic place. And what we're looking right now is massive airstrikes from the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainian helicopters, they're pounding Belgorod in Russia. Now, Russia has said that this will hinder peace talks. Already we had seen 6 rounds of peace talks with no fruition. But we're looking at further what will happen next. The next 48 hours remains to be seen. A counter-attack by Ukraine in Russia's Belgorod right now. What we are seeing at this point of time, first that oil depots were targeted. A second explosion also now being heard in Belgorod at this point in time.
Putting across some very dramatic visuals of the fire that had taken place with respect to the airstrikes that have allegedly been carried out in Belgorod by Ukrainian troops. We're being told that 2 helicopters had been used at a low altitude where the airstrikes had been carried out, and this oil depot had been strategically targeted as well. A huge message that Ukraine also wants to send across to Russia, but now Moscow sending out a statement claiming that this kind of attacks, if it is so, that has been carried out by the Ukrainian troops, this will definitely hinder the peace talks that are already happening. And the 7th round, in fact, that was all set to take place, and we are getting to know that even on the ground, Russian troops carrying out several attacks in Ukrainian cities, but for the first time that we are seeing in Belgorod, that is 40 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border inside of the Russian territory, that Ukrainian troops have allegedly carried out airstrikes as well. And of course, this is going to have a massive impact on the kind of peace talks that have been going on. The 7th round of peace talks that is all set to take place as well. Of course, all these rounds, in fact, not yielding the results that both parties have wanted. But we have seen over the past few days the kind of aid that Ukrainian troops have also been getting from the rest of the world, and the kind of military equipment that has been given, and also the volunteers that are now on the ground defending Ukrainian territory as well. And now we see for the first time a very shocking development, in fact, that the Ukrainian troops allegedly have gone into the Russian territory 40 kilometers outside of their border, inside of the Russian territory in Belgorod, where the oil depot has been hit by 2 helicopters that had been allegedly flying at a low altitude, and airstrikes had been carried out as well. And a massive development now that Moscow has said that if this is if this situation is true, if this incident is in fact right, there will be massive consequences, and that there will be a hindrance to the peace talks as well. Shravan Sen also joins us from Ukraine. He's been on the ground tracking that story for us very, very closely. Shravan, a massive development that we're tracking from here, where now, in fact, Ukrainian troops allegedly have gone into the Russian border in the Russian territory, 40 kilometers about their territory, and they have carried out the airstrikes as well. There have been 2 helicopters allegedly that had been used. What more are you picking up on the ground related to that?
Well, Priyanka, While officially Ukraine hasn't really commented, just a short while back, the foreign minister of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, has said that neither will he confirm or deny anything as far as the latest update with regards to Belgorod is concerned. Let me just tell our viewers where exactly is this. In fact, Republic Media Network has also been closer to Belgorod in a city called Hoptivka. Remember, that's the very place where before the invasion actually began, there was a built-up from the Russians in the Belgorod, and several military bases are actually in and around Belgorod area. Now, if you just simply take a look at the visuals that have basically come in, it shows one of the attack helicopters launching a missile targeting the oil depot. This comes in the backdrop of multiple oil depots that have been targeted by the Russians in Western Ukraine. There are two places where it has already happened. One is in Lviv, an oil depot was targeted, and also the other place is Melnytsky. In fact, Melnytsky's governor, the mayor who spoke to us, did confirm that the oil depot was targeted. So it does look like at this point in time some sort of a retaliatory move by the Ukrainians. And in fact, just a short while back, there was also another report of an explosion in Belgorod area. We do not know at this point in time whether at all this was a result of an air defense system of the Ukrainians bringing down a missile from the Russian side. So that's not very we are not very sure at this stage with regards to what's really happened so far. Important to point out here is that also another breaking update coming in is that what's really happening in and around Kiev. We are being told, the latest coming in from the Ukrainian side, that right now the Battle of Kiev, it seems, is quite settled, with Ukraine taking back a city called Irpin. Now, Irpin, where there's intense battle that has taken place over the last a few weeks put together, it turns out that right now the 35th and the 36th Combined Arms Army of the Russians, they are now moving back inside Belarus. Now, whether it is to once again remobilize, that's not very clear. But right now, the battle has shifted to a place called Bucha and Hostomel. These are airfields which were basically taken over by the Russians right at the beginning of the invasion. So it does appear that there is a cutback as far as military operations of the Russians are concerned in and around Kiev. But they are essentially focusing right now on Donbas region, where we are being told that yet another move that has been made by the Russians to try and ensure that whatever remaining areas of Donbas which was under the control of the Ukrainians are taken over. Apart from that, they are also trying to create something like what they have in Luhansk and Donetsk, that is the Luhansk People's Republic and Donetsk People's Republic. They are trying to do the same thing, a military civilian administration in the other area down south in Ukraine, that's in Kherson, where they're trying to create a Kherson's People's Republic, which is an indication that Russia has made up their mind to take over these very cities where they have their larger presence. So Kiev is not the bigger concern that the Russian administration has at this point in time. They're focusing down south and the Donbas region. That's where the battle is going to be shifted.
Well, definitely, Shravan, and on day 37, we're also seeing a counter-attack from the Ukrainian troops as well in the Russian territory. And we will keep a close eye on what's really happening there, because now we also see the Russian troops, as you were rightly pointing out, not just in Kiev, but also in the Donbas region, where they're escalating their attacks and airstrikes as well. For the moment, Shravan, thank you for joining us on the broadcast.
Day 37 of Russian invasion in Ukraine, and Ukrainian armed forces have liberated at least 11 settlements of the Kherson region and seized trophy equipments of Russia. Ukrainian armed forces have claimed to have destroyed a convoy of Russian tanks near Kiev. Around 8 Russian tanks with V signs were seen burnt, with smoke coming out from some of them. Ukrainian soldiers said that Russians got what they deserved, since they had destroyed many houses in that area. Meanwhile, Russia has assured that they would significantly scale back operations in areas around Kiev and Chernihiv to increase trust between both sides and help negotiations. But despite this, in Kiev suburbs, regional governor Alexander Palvyuk said on social media that Russian forces shelled Irpin, Makariv and Hostomel. Agency report for Republic TV.